My name is Audra Reed. At 34, my life is a study in quiet lines and measured spaces, much like the architectural blueprints that cover my drafting table. I live in a small, thoughtfully arranged apartment in Portland, Oregon, where the persistent gray drizzle feels less like a nuisance and more like a soft blanket over the city. From my window, I can see the elegant steel fretwork of the Fremont Bridge, a testament to the beauty of function and form, a principle I try to live by. I'm an architect specializing in sustainable design. I find peace in the integrity of natural materials, the scent of cedar, the cool smoothness of slate, the way light can transform a simple room into a sanctuary. My work is my solace, a world where logic, creativity, and purpose coalesce. My family, however, is a different kind of structure altogether, one built on a foundation of shifting needs and unspoken rules, where I have always been the primary, and often invisible, support beam. The first tremor in that structure's foundation arrived on a Tuesday evening, carried through the phone line by my mother's voice, a voice that has always managed to sound both fragile and demanding at the same time. "Audrey, darling," she began, her tone laced with a familiar, manufactured sweetness. "About the trip to the coast next month, the one at Whispering Pines." I leaned back in my chair, the scent of graphite and paper filling my senses. I had just finished the initial sketches for a new community library, and a feeling of calm satisfaction hummed within me. "Hi, Mom. What about it? Is everything okay?" A pause, pregnant with the hesitation I knew so well. It was the sound of a difficult request being wrapped in the silken gauze of maternal concern. "Well, honey, Stella and I were talking." Stella, my younger sister. The vibrant, chaotic force to my quiet, ordered existence. Where I found beauty in stillness, Stella found it in performance. She was an aspiring actress and a burgeoning social media influencer, a life path that required a constant audience and relentless documentation. "Stella feels she's a bit worried, that's all," Mom continued, her words tiptoeing around the issue. "She's bringing Evan, you know. It's getting quite serious. And she wants this trip to be a chance for everyone to really bond with him. She thinks, well, she feels it should be more intimate." Intimate. The word landed in the quiet room with a dull thud. I swiveled my chair to face the window, watching the rain trace silver paths down the glass. The trip to Whispering Pines Lodge, a stunning resort nestled on the rugged Oregon coast, had been my idea. It was to be a celebration, a gift. My firm had just won a major award for the Ethelgard Center, a sustainable public building I'd poured my soul into for 3 years. The bonus was substantial, and my first thought had been to share it, to finally have the kind of idyllic family vacation we always saw in other people's photo albums but never managed ourselves. "Intimate," I repeated, my voice betraying none of the cold dread coiling in my stomach. "Mom, I'm the one who booked the lodge. I'm paying for the entire thing." "Oh, I know, sweetheart, and we are also so grateful," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You are always so generous. But you know how Stella is. She gets these ideas in her head. She's worried your quiet nature might make Evan feel a bit awkward. She wants everything to be perfect, full of energy. You understand, don't you? You've always been the understanding one." There it was. The role I was always cast in. The understanding one, the responsible one, the one who could be counted on to step aside gracefully. I stared at the confirmation email I had saved in a folder on my desktop. Whispering Pines Lodge, Ocean View Manor. A magnificent, sprawling main house with 6 bedrooms, a gourmet kitchen, and a great room with a stone fireplace overlooking the Pacific. A week-long booking. $14,000. A sum I had been so excited to spend, imagining my family together, laughing, hiking the coastal trails, watching the sunset from the deck. My phone buzzed. A text from Stella. "Mom told you, right? Please don't be weird about it. It's just that Evan is super outgoing and I want him to see us as this fun, vibrant family. Your whole serious architect vibe is amazing, but it's not really the aesthetic for this trip. T-checks for getting it. You're the best, sis. Evan." Her boyfriend of 4 months. His vibrant personality had apparently earned him a spot on a family trip over the sister who was funding it. Another buzz. My father, Marcus. Sweetheart, your mother told me about the change of plans. You're always so mature about these things. We know we can count on you to hold down the fort here. Stella really needs this, a chance to shine. Stella had been shining her entire life, a brilliant, dazzling star our parents orbited around. They'd flown to Los Angeles for her walk-on role in a web series, attended every showcase for her acting classes, celebrated her every 1,000-follower milestone on Instagram. My own achievements, graduating with honors, passing my architectural licensing exam, winning the Ethelgard Award, were met with a polite, "That's nice, dear," usually delivered over the phone while they were on their way to one of Stella's events. Besides, Mom's voice chirped on, pulling me back to our conversation. Someone needs to look after Milo and Pip. You know they hate the cattery, and a pet sitter for a whole week would be a fortune. Of course. I was the built-in pet sitter. The family bank. But not family enough for the family vacation. I opened a file on my computer, one I rarely looked at. It was a simple spreadsheet titled Family Support. It was a clinical, unemotional record of a decade of one-sided generosity. The payments for Stella's exorbitant acting workshops in New York. The thousands I'd sent Mom for the dental implants she'd wanted. The $50,000 loan I'd given Dad 2 years ago to keep his artisanal furniture business from going under during the pandemic, a loan that was never spoken of again. He told Mom he'd secured a special grant for small businesses. He'd never told her the grant was me. That $50,000 had been my own dream. It was the down payment for a small, 2-acre plot of land just south of Cannon Beach, a piece of earth where forest met the sea. I had sketches of the house I wanted to build there, a small, passive solar home of cedar and glass, a place that would breathe with the landscape. I had put my own sanctuary on hold to save his. Family helps family, he'd said, clapping me on the shoulder. It was a motto they only seemed to remember when they were the ones in need. My phone lit up again. It had been added to a new group chat, Coastal Getaway. Stella had already posted a dozen photos of the Ocean View Manor from the resort's website. Her caption read, "OMG, can't wait for this. Family, fun, and my amazing guy." She then proceeded to assign the rooms. Mom and Dad get the master suite, obs. Chloe and Mark can have the one with the private balcony. Evan and I are taking the corner suite with the fireplace. So romantic. Chloe, our cousin, and her husband, Mark. They were invited, too. The same Chloe who'd tearfully asked me for a $5,000 loan for her caterer last year and had since avoided any mention of repayment. I looked at the awards hanging on my office wall, their gilt frames seeming to mock me. Excellence in Urban Sustainability. The Governor's Design Award. Accolades from strangers that meant nothing in the economy of my own family. My fingers trembled over my keyboard. I wanted to type something sharp, something that would shatter their blissful, self-absorbed bubble. I wanted to attach the spreadsheet, a cold, hard accounting of their gratitude. Instead, I took a deep, steadying breath and typed 2 words. Have fun. Stella's reply was instantaneous. Knew you'd understand. You're the best. Don't forget to water Mom's orchids, they're super fussy. I closed my laptop and walked back to the window. The city lights were beginning to emerge, painting the low-hanging clouds in hues of orange and rose. For years, I had been the silent architect of my family's comfort, designing and funding their happiness, while my own blueprints gathered dust. This trip was meant to be different. I'd imagined showing them the rugged beauty of the coast, the places that inspired my work. I'd imagined them finally seeing me, not as a resource, but as a person, a daughter, a sister. But Stella, as always, had drafted her own plans. And my parents, as always, had approved them without a second thought. My phone buzzed one last time. It was Mom. "We'll bring you back a piece of saltwater taffy, sweetheart. And remember, Milo needs his thyroid pill crushed in his food. You're such a blessing, Audra. Always so reliable." A blessing. A convenience. I walked back to my desk and opened the bottom drawer, pulling out a thick folder labeled Read Land. Inside were the original property surveys for the 2-acre plot I had lost, the faded brochures, my own hand-drawn sketches of a dream deferred. And tucked behind them was another file, containing the signed loan agreement with my father and the bank statements showing the $50,000 transfer. It was a record of a quiet sacrifice they had all forgotten. Perhaps, I thought, as I picked up my phone again, it was time to remodel the entire structure of our family. Not with anger or with spite, but with the clear, unassailable logic of an architect revealing a fatal design flaw. They wanted an intimate vacation. I would simply have to help them with the design. The week before their departure was a masterclass in oblivious entitlement, broadcast live on the Coastal Getaway group chat. Stella posted polls asking for opinions on her mood board of outfits, one for every conceivable activity, from windswept beach walk to cozy fireside chat. Chloe shared a link to the spa at Whispering Pines, announcing she'd booked a deep tissue massage and a seaweed wrap, blithely assuming the generous credit I'd placed on the reservation was an open-to-all perk. My mother posted recipes for the elaborate meals she planned to cook in the Ocean View Manor's state-of-the-art kitchen, tagging Evan in a photo of a complicated paella. "Get ready for your future mother-in-law's cooking," she wrote, followed by a string of heart emojis. Not one of them seemed to register the deep, gaping irony of it all. It was as if my exclusion was so normal, so expected, that it didn't warrant a second thought. I was the silent benefactor, the stagehand who sets the scene and then melts into the wings before the curtain rises. I spent that week not in silent resentment, but in quiet action. My days were filled with my own work, finalizing the library plans, meeting with contractors, losing myself in the satisfying precision of my craft. But in the evenings, I made a series of calm, deliberate phone calls. My plan wasn't born of vengeance, but of a desperate need for equilibrium. It was an architectural correction, a rebalancing of a structure that was about to collapse under the weight of its own inequity. The first call was to Mr. Davison, the manager of Whispering Pines Lodge. I explained the situation with a calm professionalism that left no room for argument. "Ms. Reed," he said, his voice warm and understanding. "I see. You are the sole name on the booking and the credit card on file is yours. You have every right to alter the reservation as you see fit. The Ocean View Manor is our premium property, of course. What did you have in mind?" "I was looking at your fishermen's cottages," I said, picturing the rustic, charmingly isolated little buildings I'd seen on the resort map, set back from the main lodge, closer to the estuary. "They're part of the same resort, are they not?" "They are, yes. They're quite lovely. More rustic. Self-contained. They don't have access to the manor's private amenities, of course, but they have their own kitchenettes and patios." "Perfect," I said. "I'd like to cancel the Ocean View Manor and book 5 of the cottages instead. One for my parents, one for my sister and her guest, one for my cousin and her husband. I booked 2 more under my father's and cousin's names, just to be safe. I then placed a hold on the Ocean View Manor for the following week under my own name. The day of their departure, my apartment was a hub of their last-minute logistics. My mother dropped off the cats, Milo and Pip, along with a 3-page, single-space document detailing their dietary needs and emotional quirks. "And the orchids, Audrey. They need to be misted, not watered. There's a difference," she'd said, kissing me on the cheek before hurrying out, her mind already on the open road and the gourmet kitchen that awaited her. The group chat was buzzing. A selfie from Stella and Evan in the car, both wearing oversized sunglasses. "Road trip. The coast is calling. Thanks for cat-sitting, big sis." A photo from Chloe of her ridiculously oversized suitcase. "Packed for a week of pure luxury. You're missing out, Audra." "Am I?" I thought, stroking Pip's soft, gray fur. I waited until 3 o'clock, the official check-in time. I imagined them pulling up the long, winding driveway, the majestic Ocean View Manor coming into view, their excitement reaching a crescendo. Then I made my final, quiet move. I sent a simple email to Mr. Davison, confirming the release of the final cottage bookings to my family members and thanking him for his discretion. At 4:30, right on schedule, my phone began to thrum with a frantic, discordant energy. The first message was from my dad in the group chat. "There seems to be a mix-up at reception. They're saying our reservation for the manor was canceled." Chloe followed a second later. "They're trying to put us in some little cabins by the marsh." Mark is talking to the manager, but he's not being helpful. Then, a direct text from Stella. What is going on? They have us down for a fisherman's cottage. It smells like mildew and old rope. This is a disaster. Evan looks so confused. Finally, my mother called, her voice a high-pitched, frantic wail. Audra, thank God you answered. There's been a terrible mistake at the lodge. They're saying our reservation was changed and they've given the manor to another party. Stella is in tears. Her perfect trip is ruined before it even started. I sat in my quiet apartment, the gentle purr of Milo on my lap a soothing counterpoint to her panic. I looked out at the familiar silhouette of the bridge, solid and unwavering. Oh, that's odd, Mom, I said, my voice even and calm. What did the manager say? He said the booking holder was the only one who could have authorized the change. He kept saying MS, reads instructions. We told him we were your family, but he was adamant. Can you call them right away? You need to fix this. I took a moment, letting the silence stretch. I thought of all the years I had fixed things, fixed their finances, fixed their schedules, fixed their problems, all while my own needs were ignored. Actually, Mom, I said, the words feeling both terrifying and liberating. The reservation is correct. It's exactly as I modified it last week. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line, followed by a stunned silence. What do you mean you modified it? Audra, why on earth would you do that? Well, I began, choosing my words with the precision of an architect placing a cornerstone. Since I wasn't invited to the intimate family gathering, I thought perhaps you all could use even more intimacy. The cottages are completely separate. You won't have to worry about crowding each other in a big house. Stella and Evan can have all the private, one-on-one time they need to cultivate their aesthetic. Chloe and Mark can enjoy the rustic charm. And you and Dad get your very own little love nest. But that's not the plan. Stella wanted us all together in the beautiful house. She wanted to host dinners. No, Mom, I corrected gently. Stella wanted everyone she approved of together. There's a significant difference. And from what I understand, those cottages are quite popular. More authentic to the coastal experience, I believe. My phone buzzed with an incoming text from Stella, sent to the group chat for all to see. This is the most passive-aggressive, childish thing you have ever done. You've ruined everything. Evan is mortified. This is not the luxury vacation I promised him. I replied to the group, my fingers steady. Actually, the cost of 5 individual cottages for a week was slightly more than the manor booking. Please, consider it a complimentary upgrade. It's the least I could do. After all, family helps family, right? Chloe chimed in. This is so petty, Audra. We would have loved for you to be there, but you can be so intense. I smiled a sad, tired smile. Instead of a spreadsheet, I decided on a more personal touch. I went to the folder on my desk, the one labeled Read Land, and took out the loan agreement I had with my father. I took a clear photo of it, along with a photo of the bank statement showing the transfer. I sent them not to the group, but in a private message to my father. My message was simple. I wasn't too intense when your dream was on the line, was I, Dad? The group chat went silent. Even Stella, never one to be lost for words, had no reply. My mother called back, her voice stripped of its earlier indignation, now small and shaky. Audra, honey, we never meant, we didn't want to hurt you. It's just that Stella gets so worked up and you just go along with it. I finished for her, my voice quiet, but firm. I know, Mom. That's the design. Stella is the star, and I am the supportive framework she stands on. Well, now she has her own private cottage with Evan. You all have exactly what you asked for, an intimate family vacation. I truly hope you enjoy the week. Make sure to take lots of pictures. I ended the call and switched my phone to silent, watching as the screen lit up again and again with notifications I no longer felt compelled to answer. Milo shifted in my lap, kneading my leg with his paws, completely oblivious. I walked to my window and looked out at the city, my city, feeling a profound sense of space opening up inside me. On my drafting table, next to the library sketches, lay a new brochure. It was for a different coastal resort, a quiet, secluded place north of Manzanita. I'd booked a small, private cabin there for myself for the following week. My family wanted intimacy. They were about to get 7 days of it, scattered across 5 rustic cottages, with nothing to distract them from the consequences of their own choices. For the first time, I felt like the architect of my own life, and the design, I realized, was finally starting to feel right. The first few days of their intimate vacation unfolded in a series of digital dispatches that painted a vivid picture of discontent. The tone evolved from sharp anger to a kind of bewildered whining. Stella sent moody, filtered photos of the cramped cottage kitchenette, a stark contrast to the gleaming chef's kitchen she'd dreamed of. "Can't even make a proper latte," the caption read. Chloe complained in the group chat that the walk to the main resort spa was a muddy trek and that the atmosphere in their cottage wasn't conducive to true relaxation. My mother attempted a more manipulative approach, sending me a picture of the tiny, 4-person table on their patio with a single, forlorn-looking empty chair. "We saved you a seat, honey. It's not too late to drive down." I read the messages not with glee, but with a kind of detached anthropological interest. I was observing the results of a controlled experiment. What happens when a system, long out of balance, is suddenly forced to find a new equilibrium? The result, it seemed, was chaos. I spent those days immersed in my own world. I took Milo and Pip for harness walks in the small park near my building. I spent hours at my drafting table, the lines of the new library flowing effortlessly from my pencil. I visited the plot of land I had once hoped to buy, standing at its edge and breathing in the scent of pine and damp earth. There was a pang of loss, but it was overshadowed by a burgeoning sense of self-respect. The land was still beautiful, but it was no longer a symbol of my sacrifice. It was a reminder of my strength. On the third evening, while I was enjoying a glass of Pinot Noir and reading a book on Japanese joinery, my father called. His negotiator voice was on, the one he used with difficult clients. "Audra, sweetheart," he began. "I think we all need to take a breath here. This has gotten out of hand." "Has it?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "From my perspective, things are finally getting into hand." "My hand." He sighed, a long-suffering sound. "Look, Stella feels just awful. She's not good at expressing it, but she is. She just wanted everything to be perfect for Evan. Perfect for a stranger was more important than being decent to your own daughter?" I swirled the wine in my glass, watching the light catch its deep ruby color. "You know, Dad, speaking of things getting out of hand, I was organizing my financial files the other day. I came across that agreement from a couple of years ago." A tense silence filled the line. "Audra, that's in the past. The business is doing fine now." "I'm glad to hear it," I said calmly. "But it's not in the past for me. Because that money, that $50,000, wasn't just savings. It was my future. It was the down payment for my house, for the land I had spent years searching for. I put my dream on hold for yours, Dad. And you let Mom believe you got a grant. You took my sacrifice and presented it as your own success. So please, don't talk to me about things getting out of hand." The silence on his end was now heavy with the weight of unspoken truth. He didn't deny it. He couldn't. I was going to pay you back, sweetheart," he stammered. "Were you?" I asked, the question hanging in the air. I didn't wait for an answer. "I'm done being the silent partner in this family, Dad. I'm done being the emergency fund you tap when you need to, and the boring, intense daughter you hide away when company comes over." I ended the call, my heart pounding, but my resolve firm. An hour later, I received a direct message on Instagram. It was from Evan. My stomach tightened, expecting an attack. Instead, the message read, "Hey Audra. Evan here. I just wanted to reach out and say, wow. I had no idea about any of this. Stella told me her parents were treating everyone to this big trip. The whole vibe here is intense, to say the least. The separate cottages have actually been pretty illuminating. I'm starting to see a side of Stella and your whole family dynamic that is frankly terrifying. I'm actually cutting out early tomorrow. So, I guess, thank you. You may have inadvertently helped me dodge a very, very big bullet." I read the message twice. It was a validation so profound it almost brought me to tears. It wasn't just in my head. An outsider, a stranger, had seen it all in just 3 days. As expected, Evan's departure triggered a Category 5 hurricane in the group chat. Stella's messages were a torrent of heartbreak and fury, all directed at me. This is your fault. You embarrassed me. You created this toxic environment and drove him away. My mother tried to run interference. Now, Stella, let's not place blame. I'm sure if we had all been together in the big house, getting to know Evan properly, none of this would have happened. I typed a single reply into the chat. Or maybe, if you had raised your daughter to be kind, grateful, and less profoundly self-centered, she wouldn't drive people away. Just a thought. The ensuing silence was absolute. On their last day, Dad sent one final, long text message. It was a rambling, uncharacteristic missive about the importance of family, about how they knew they had taken me for granted, how they were sorry and wanted to make it right. I responded by sending him a photo of the brochure for the resort I was heading to the next day. I appreciate the sentiment, Dad. But what I need right now isn't a group hug. It's space. I'm going here for a week. I'll be hiking, sketching, and breathing air that isn't thick with obligation. I won't be answering calls about family drama or cat-sitting requests. For the first time in a very long time, I am putting my own project first. The day they were due to return, I was packing my own bag, sketchbooks, pencils, hiking boots, a few good books. There was a knock at my door. It was my mother, looking smaller and more tired than I had ever seen her. She was holding the cat carrier. "The cats missed you," she said, her voice thin. She avoided my eyes, looking at a spot on the floor. "I'm sure they did," I said, taking the carrier and setting it down. Milo and Pip immediately began to meow. "Just like you all miss my wallet when it's not open." She flinched, a small, pained motion. "We deserved that. We deserved all of it." She finally looked up at me, her eyes red-rimmed. "Stella has been unbearable. She blames everyone but herself. Chloe and Mark are barely speaking after a week cooped up together. And your father, he finally told me. About the loan. About your land." I nodded slowly, letting the cats out of their carrier. They wound around my legs, purring. "You know what hurt the most, Mom?" I said, my voice soft but clear. "It was never about the money. I was happy to help. It was the fact that none of you ever really saw me. You saw a solution to your problems. You saw a safety net. You saw a responsible daughter. But you never saw Audra. You never once asked about the Ethelgard project. You don't know what sustainable architecture even means. You've never seen my passion, only my utility." Tears welled in her eyes and spilled down her cheeks. "Can we fix this, Audrey? How do we even start?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know it doesn't start with a grand gesture or another forced family vacation. It starts with small things. With respect. With curiosity. It starts with you treating me like a person you're interested in, not just a person you're related to." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Your father, he showed me the pictures of that building you designed. The Ethelgard Center. It's beautiful, Audra. Truly." She hesitated. I'd like you to tell me about it. Sometime. When you get back." It was a tiny step, a single stone laid on a new foundation. But it was a start. The following week, I sat on the deck of my own private cabin, a mug of hot tea warming my hands. The view was of a wild, windswept beach, the ocean churning under a silver sky. The air was clean and cold. I spent my days walking for miles, filling my sketchbook with drawings of windswept pines and intricate rock formations. I felt a sense of peace settle over me, a quiet joy that was entirely my own. On my third day, I posted a photo online, not of me, but of the sunrise breaking through the coastal fog, turning the waves to liquid gold. The caption was simple, "Morning light." Within an hour, I saw that Stella had unfollowed me. Chloe left a snippy, now deleted comment about how nice it must be to afford 2 vacations. But then, a new comment appeared. It was from my mother. "That's a beautiful view, honey. It reminds me of the light in that atrium you designed for the Ethelgard Center. Tell me more about how you captured it." I smiled, a real, unburdened smile. I realized that sometimes, the most important structures we build are not made of steel and glass. They're the boundaries we create to protect our own hearts. And sometimes, the most beautiful family moments aren't the ones that are perfectly staged for a photograph. They're the quiet, difficult, honest ones that come after the old, unstable structure has finally been shaken to its core, making way for something new, something stronger, something true, to be built in its place. I began to type my reply, ready, for the first time, to share the blueprints of my soul.